I can open up my unabridged subconscious memory of my entire life. I can sort through it at light speed, looking for the principles of wisdom that pertain to this question or this problem. And then using those principles, I usually say 5 good reasons. First one, we'll start with some common sense ones. Most of us who have tried to go without adequate sleep come to realize that it is as if in sleep we charge a battery, and if we don't charge it enough, we either run at half speed or we just run out of juice before the day's over. Going along with that electrical analogy, I call people's attention to if they've ever watched someone, particularly a small child in a car seat, fall asleep in the car. And what we see is as they get tired, they close their eyes and lean back. And as they start to enter sleep, their breathing becomes more regular. And then as they get into sleep, their head starts to do this. And as they get deeper into sleep, pretty soon they're hanging by their seatbelt. Mm-hmm. And what I'd like to highlight there is as we transition from awake to shallow sleep to deeper sleep, the muscles of our head and neck and shoulders and arms and legs all relax a little bit more and a little bit more. From a layman's perspective, you could imagine that as we drop the voltage going into our muscles, that allows us to push more energy into the charging of this theoretical battery. But I do like to take a moment to focus on this muscle relaxation, because the second reason why we sleep is so that the body has an opportunity for growth, maintenance, and repair. And the most important change that occurs in sleep that allows that growth, maintenance, and repair is that the blood vessels in the walls, the muscles in the walls of the blood vessels relax in sleep. That lowers the blood pressure, but opens up the blood flow wide open. And this low pressure soaking watering system then allows us to flush the waste products and the garbage, the oxidizing chemicals and stuff out of the tissue and bring the building blocks and the hormones in that then bring about that growth and maintenance and repair. It's interesting and important to focus that I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this thing called the blood-brain barrier, but as a protective mechanism against toxic chemicals getting into our brain while we're awake, it's as if the blood vessels in the brain are more tightly knit together. For that reason, yeah, we can get oxygen and sugar in, but the majority of the nutrients that need to be brought into the brain so we have what it takes to make the chemicals that fuel the brain, those have to be delivered into the brain and stockpiled during the night shift. And so it's very dependent on that vasodilation, that relaxation of the muscles of those vessels to the brain, which allows us to flush out the nervous system, the waste products from being biochemically very active during the daytime. There's a lot of chemicals that are left over that we need to flush out. And then that allows us to bring in the nutrients from which we build the neurotransmitters, the chemicals that fuel the brain biochemically. The third reason why we sleep, while we are awake, our mind is recording what's happening around us, what our senses tell us, and records what we ourselves are thinking and feeling emotionally. But it is in sleep, stage 2 of sleep, that we open up this temporary memory folder and sort through it and decide which of those moments in the day do we want to transfer to the long-term conscious memory banks. So in stage 2, we are reviewing and selecting. In stage 3, we take those selected moments of the day, relive them. We dream about what happened during the day, reliving that moment as we put it into the long-term conscious memory bank and etch it into the hard drive of our memory. We process, select and transfer key data that creates our long-term conscious memory. We do that in stage 2 and then stage 3 of sleep. Fourth reason why we sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. This is where we do our fantasy dreaming. I often tease that beyond just being a cool idea for movies, there's a purpose to it. Imagine that rapid eye movement sleep is the time and space where we can work through our emotions. I often give a silly vignette, but it carries the idea across to patients. Imagine I've got a neighbor that's not my favorite neighbor because he likes to take his dog poop and throw it over the wall into my backyard. The immature part of me gets very angry, frustrated by this, and it makes me want to gather it up, shove it in his mailbox, throw eggs at his car, and kick his dog. But because I'm trying to be a nice neighbor, I don't do that. I grit my teeth, I smile, I wave, and I hope that tomorrow he's going to be a better person. But when I get into my rapid eye movement sleep, my pent-up frustration from that moment has an opportunity to work itself out. And this opportunity to work through our emotions allows us as human beings to go through hard things and in the night become emotionally refreshed. So in the morning, I can wake up with faith and hope and courage to carry on. If I don't spend enough time in rapid eye movement sleep, I become emotionally overburdened, overwhelmed. My emotions build up to where they're very close to the surface. And either I'm tearful at the drop of a hat, or I'm very reactionary and I'll say or do things that I wouldn't do if I had better sleep and I was more emotionally grounded. So we've covered charging the battery, growth and repair and maintenance, processing and creating lasting conscious memory, and processing emotion. Fifth one is this thing, the fancy name is called neurocreativity. So if I go, as I'm getting ready for bed, I've got a problem or a question or a concern in my mind, then as I get into sleep, if I can get through with the 4 chores and I've got time left over at the end of the night where I do my rapid eye movement sleep, then I can open up my unabridged subconscious memory of my entire life. I can sort through it at light speed, looking for the principles of wisdom that pertain to this question or this problem. And then using those principles, I can analyze that equation and try to come up with a solution. And that is what leads to us sometimes waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, aha, that's what I should do for this project or for this podcast or for this speech I'm going to give or whatever. But that synthesis that's taking place in our REM sleep after we've finished working through our emotions is what brings out that solution. And because, let me just comment one more thing, because it is the product of ruminating thoughts in our rapid eye movement sleep, it is not part of our conscious memory. So if in those moments of insight, if we don't repeat it 10 times in our mind or put a word on a piece of paper in the dark on our nightstand, or if it's happening when we just wake up in the morning, if we don't jot down some little note, within an hour or two, it's flown because it was never part of our conscious memory. It was a byproduct of this neurocreativity that takes place in rapid eye movement sleep.